Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Now today I've got two very special guests. They have both actually been on my channel, so I'm really excited to have them back on. I'm joined by Kenyah and Lucy. Kenyah, I'll start with you first. Thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you? Thanks for letting us come back, basically. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Not too bad. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on again. It's going to be really good to chat. And Lucy as well. We spoke a few weeks ago, and I know more stuff has happened with the women's team. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about all the heartbreak Eidevall's bringing us right now. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, we were just saying off air that it's going to be a bit like a therapy session for us because it's not been the easiest time to be an Arsenal women fan, especially with everything that's gone on. And I thought I'd actually talk on some positive news because Leah Williamson did extend her deal, signed a new contract at Arsenal. And I honestly didn't know it was actually up. I didn't really know when it ended. So I was kind of happy to hear this. But I'll start with you, Kenyah. Were you happy? Were you surprised to hear this news, or did it surprise you at all?
No, I was really happy because I feel like in recent weeks, or we've had not even recent weeks, in the last year, all we've heard is doom and gloom with players, injured, players leaving. So it's like when you have someone who's a childhood gooner like Leah Williamson, who's been at the club for such a long time, probably the majority of her life, and she's captain of England. She's a massive personality in the dressing room. To know that she's signing on and she wants to stay is obviously massive. And I was really happy to see that. It was kind of like the first positive news we've had in a long time. So yeah, I was really happy, to be honest. I wasn't surprised, to be honest, either.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Lucy? Were you because I think it was obviously really nice to hear some positive news, especially after so many players have left. So how did you feel about that news?
I mean, to be honest, like you said, I didn't actually know her contract was coming up at any point. So it was almost just like a nice surprise to see it on my page. But I didn't think she'd be leaving or anything like that. I think if that happened, that would just be me done with the women's team. I'd just be like, right now, I'm done.
I have a mental breakdown.
Literally, if you're losing that many players, big names, so and she literally is Arsenal through and through. Also, big shout out to the media at Arsenal because the videos we produced, I feel like obviously the Declan Rice one, that was mad. That signing on video was crazy. But even just the little ones of her doing Sudoku and everything like that to stay at the club, I just think the creativity is really coming out and it's exciting because it gets us more hyped about it. But yeah, if she didn't stay, I think I'd be so confused.
I would be really concerned about the direction of the club if she did leave because I know a lot of players have left and Viv as well leaving, and I know there was a source that said that Viv wasn't happy with the direction of the club as well, and it is obviously really good to hear that news. I know Steven Blackstenius has signed as well, so it feels like there are some positives, but there also are some negatives. I know Viv obviously is leaving, and for me, even though it's been a little while since it's been announced, I still can't process it. I'm just it's going to hurt because I reckon she's going to go to Man City now and she's going to win things. And it's so tough. I mean, I'll start with you, Lucy. Miedema's obviously left. I mean, do you think this will be a big mistake from Arsenal? Because we know what a great player she is.
I think it already is a big mistake in the sense that the fans are so disconnected from the club right now. And I know that when I think it was actually one of you that said it on our chat that he was getting booed, Jonas Eidevall is now getting booed in places. So I think he's not really done himself any favours. I know obviously a lot of people are put into that decision. It's obviously not just all on him thinking, right, we'll get rid of this player. But I think especially when we talk about the injuries we've had and Miedema, Leah Williamson, Laura Vainrotter, we've had 4 players out of ACLs. They've all come back. And the minute she's come back, you're now kicking her out of the club. It just seems a bit harsh. And also it doesn't really make much sense because I know now, I think we're looking to maybe get a striker from Barcelona. But I don't really understand why when we have Miedema, we literally could utilise the players we've actually got. And if you look at even in the last game, the link up between Mead and Miedema, obviously both off the pitch and on the pitch, they're a good duo. So I feel like you're breaking up a lot, and especially like you said, if she goes to City, that's me done because how are we then going to have to face her? She's going to potentially score against us, and I'd want her to out of spite, but then I don't want her to score against us. Does that? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think just I don't actually understand the thought process whatsoever. I don't know if you're the same like Kenyah, but I just don't understand it.
I'm still putting the pieces together to see why there's even a good decision. I think you actually brought up a really good point of like, she's just done her ACL and we've rewarded that by saying, okay, you're leaving the club. Typically when someone has that serious injury, we saw in the men's team, for example, like El Neni had such a serious injury. We actually gave him an extra year so he could spend that year like rehabilitating himself, getting better. Instead, we've almost just been like, yeah, we're done with you. Like, that's it. And I just feel like, where's the aftercare and the support for players? Even if we're not going to keep, even if we know she's not a part of our plans in the future, I think the smallest amount we could have given her was that, just to show gratitude. Like, this isn't just someone that's joined the club a year ago. This is a club legend that we're just mistreating. And I just understand. I just don't get it. And I just think, you know, you look at Man City, the men's team, for example. Do you think Pep would let Erling Haaland just leave? He wouldn't. He's the best team, or Kevin De Bruyne. You don't let your best players leave, and you do not send them. You don't give them an open door to say, here, the whole of Europe, you choose where you're going. There's absolute no chance. I don't know. Thinking even when she was playing, he was moving her around. Why are you putting one of the best strikers in Europe in midfield? She's a striker. She's not a midfielder. She flourishes as a number 9. We are so lucky to turn around and say, you know what, we've got one of the best strikers around, and we're tinkering her, moving her around. A manager's moving her around. He doesn't got a clue. Like, it's just so, it's very, very frustrating. And I just think this is going to come back to haunt us. Like you said, Sophie, you know, Viv the other day, she was saying, I think when she was doing the Champions League coverage, she was saying, look, I'm not trying to drop a level. I'm trying to win the Champions League. And I just think she should be doing that at Arsenal, a club that's already won it and should be trying to win it again. So it's very, very frustrating to see that we're basically letting our best player go, in my opinion. And I think that affects the squad. I think we all saw it we all saw the tributes that the other players had for her. It was actually breaking to see people like Beth Mead, Leah Williamson crying on the pitch. We never really see that. So it was really, I'm just very disappointed, to be honest. Very, very disappointed. I think it's such a poor decision. You don't let your best players go.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, I can't understand why, especially when she's gone through that injury and she's had other injuries after it.
Yeah.
You would look after her first, and maybe I said, if you know they don't see her being in the club for like years, if they at least extended her deal for like another year, they should have done that, because especially for everything she's been through. And you just see in the last game when she did score, she still has that amazing link-up play. She assisted so many goals. It just doesn't make sense.
This is the top goal scorer league. She's most goals scored in a season, most goals in the league. You think about some of the strikers and the goal scorers we've got in this league. We've got someone like a Sam Kerr that when she was over in America, she wasn't even there for long, and she's still the top goal scorer there. You think about it. Viv, look how much Viv has scored and assisted. And we're just like, yeah, we don't want you anymore. I don't understand. And then her coming on and scoring, it was almost like a slap in the face to fans, to be like, not from her, but from Jonas. And it's like, look what you're getting rid of. Her first touch, she scores. You can't replace that. And I love Stina Blackstenius. She's my favorite player. I love Alessia Russo, but Viv brings a whole nother level of what they both don't have. She has the experience. She's done it on the big stage. She's actually won some incredible things. And I just think getting rid of a player with that amount of knowledge, that amount of experience, someone who's been there in the pressure moments and done it, I just think that is a silly mistake. And if she goes to Manchester City, we're giving them the tool to say, here's to win the league, here, win the Champions League, here, go and win this and that. I just think that is such a silly mistake. Honestly. Very frustrating.
What you were just saying about like the different strikers, I was going to try and play like devil's advocate and be like, oh, but Russo, I think for me, she's the signing of the season for us. She's come in, she's brought fresh energy when we've needed someone up top, obviously with Miedema out. But like you said, Miedema just offers something different, and almost how Jonas wasn't playing like Russo or Blackstenius next to each other. He literally could play Miedema with Russo. He could just mix up. Like, imagine having that like plethora of options. Like, he's got options up top, and like you need to utilize that. But obviously now he's just making a jump ship. And like you both said, if she wins the WSL, gets far in the Champions League or anything like that with City, good on her, because I don't understand. Like, I'd be angry if I was her, but then also it's so gutting for us Arsenal fans, because obviously we support the club no matter if the players come in or out, but you always have a soft spot for ex-players that have done well for you, and I think we're always going to have a soft spot for her. So it is a really tricky situation, almost how I felt with Steph Houghton on the last day of the season. 100%. I wanted, as much as it's because I didn't want Chelsea to win, I really wanted City to do it, because Steph Houghton, what she did for Arsenal when she was with us, that I kind of was like, I want you to be able to do that. And I feel like that same energy I've got towards her, I probably am going to have towards Miedema. And it's just gutting. I'd rather Miedema just go to a different league. Obviously, I don't know what that would be relationship-wise, because Mead will still be in London, but I just kind of am like, I'd rather you out the league and do like be successful somewhere else, rather than like right in front of our eyes week in, week out. So it's going to be tough.
I reckon she'll go to Man City. Like, I feel so sure. I don't see which other team in the WSL she would go to. I don't think she'd go to Chelsea, because I don't see that happening, because I think it would ruin a little bit of the reputation between us, like the fans, and Viv, even though we'll always love her. I just can't imagine her going to Chelsea. Obviously not Spurs. I mean, she wants to move up in her career. Don't see why she would go there. But
what's the time in the Champions League?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard, because, like you said, Lucy, she's with Mead, and Mead will be in London. If she went somewhere abroad, it could work, but I just don't really see it happening. But which other teams do you think she could go to? I mean, I think Man City is probably definitely happening, but otherwise, what other teams do you guys think?
I honestly think it will just be Man City.
Yeah.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
I think City's probably the only option, because their Champions League sport, like right now, they're at the clubs that are part in their career, if that's like the right wording, where I think they will just go from strength to strength. I thought they could even have got the WSL this season, and if not, they'll be pushing for it next season. I think I'm liking how the WSL is becoming tighter. As much as I used to love when obviously we were constantly winning, now it's like, right, Jonas, you've got to like big up yourself. You've got to get better, because honestly, at this point, it's like a 3-horse race every time. United dropped off, but then suddenly Liverpool came in fourth. Like, when I saw that at the end of the season, I was like, oh, okay. Like, we're getting clubs that haven't even been in the WSL for longer than 2 years up in the top 4. So I'm excited the way the WSL is moving as a whole. I just think we've just got to make sure we stay on it, because right now, if we've got players going to our rival clubs, we need to make sure we're getting in good players and we're maintaining our squad, sort of.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I mean, I've got to speak about Jonas now, because do you know what? A few weeks ago, I thought, next season, if he wins the same thing, a Conti Cup, and we finish third, I think then that would be me, wanting him to, move on. But I think with the whole Viv situation, it has made me question things, really, and I don't know how to feel. I mean, I think if he left now, I wouldn't really. I think it would feel like the right thing to do, but he obviously still is here, and we're going through a big season as well. And next season, like, I love a Conti Cup, don't get me wrong, but we need to go for league titles and all of that. But Kenyah, I'll start with you. Just talk to me a bit about how you feel about Jonas, and like, I know, like you said before, I know in Australia when he went away, some Arsenal fans, were kind of chanting Jonas out Vivian. Like, just talk to me about how you're feeling about the whole stuff.
Yeah, you guys know how I feel. For me, Jonas should not be coach at Arsenal. Simple as. And as a kid, when I was watching women's football, we used to sweep the league every year. We were winning it. I've seen our club win the Champions League. I've seen us win the FA Cup. I've seen us win the League Cup. I've seen us sweep the league 7 times in a row. So for me to now say, okay, for the last 5 or so years, watching Chelsea just get better and better and better, it's just, I can't forgive that. And I think last season I was very I would say I was very kind to Jonas just because we had such an abnormal amount of injuries. I mean, we had like 4 serious injuries, and all 4 of those players are integral to our team. So to lose all of those was, obviously a massive loss. But I also gave him the respect of you know what, you finished third in the league, you actually took it to the last weeks, and we kind of dropped off just because we didn't have the amount to win the league. But you know what, you won the Conti Cup, you beat Chelsea at the full strength. I'll give it to you. You've done well in that sense. But that one season doesn't account for many others where I'm just like, bro, like this season, for example, the one that's got me the most is just tactics. I actually took my dad to watch that opening game against Liverpool at the Emirates. And we were sat behind the goal and when Liverpool scored, and literally just the tactics of that game was awful. And I'm just like, we can't go a season like this, but we actually have. Not playing Stina and Russo together, playing players out of position and putting people in random play. I just no. I think even things like corners, for example, we've seen this season that things like in-swinging corners do not work, yet we continually persist with this. And I'm like, we can't have a manager that's not ready to change. I look at Emma Hayes, right? And I see the reason why Emma Hayes is so good is because she's willing to change her team. She's willing to make changes when necessary. You know what, Lauren James, you're not at your best this week. We're going to put this person in. Newskin, you got to step up this week. And I just feel like, where is that from our manager? In my personal opinion, he doesn't have the winning spirit that Arsenal is. I look at our club and I think we are trailblazers in women's football. Look at the attendance, for example, this season. Incredible. We are trailblazers. Now look at our women's team next season can call the Emirates home, which is fantastic. We are literally, leading the way in these things. But on the pitch, it's not good enough for me. I think a club like Arsenal shouldn't be finishing third, in my personal opinion. We shouldn't be dropping points to West Ham. We shouldn't be dropping points to Everton. We should be comfortably beating those teams, and we've just fallen short. And it just, for me, it's really, really frustrating. And then just even things like the Viv news, for example, to know that someone like that is sat on the bench ready, we're not even going to give her a chance. It really, really frustrates me. And I just think, when I saw that the club gave him a new contract, I just thought this is such an awful decision. This is such an awful decision. I look at Man City and I look at Chelsea and I'm like, they're knocking on the door for winning major titles. Chelsea are knocking on the door to do 6 in a row. Man City are knocking on the door to win the WSL. Chelsea are knocking on the door to win the Champions League. Those are things that we've said for such a long time. Actually, we are the only club that have done that. We're the only club that have won the quad. We're the only club that done this. But I just see our competitors just closing that gap. And I just think until we bring in a manager that's actually a winner, we're gonna spend next season talking about this. And it's really frustrating, especially when you think about the players we brought in this season. I was actually happy with the window that we had.
Yeah.
We brought in Amanda Ilsted, we brought in Leslie Russo, we've brought in Lida Cadena. I was like, you know what? I'm really happy with this. These are really good players. But I just think the management of the squad, the tactics, even the way we set up for games, I just think I'm really disappointed, and I just don't like it personally. I'm a no Jonas person.
Talk to me about how you feel. Yeah, I just don't know, honestly. We're listening to you. I can't help but feel the same way. I mean, I know the players we brought in, I think we should have done a lot better than what we have done. But I don't know how to feel about Jonas, to be honest.
No, to be fair, I'm the same. I'm sort of like you, Soph. I was trying to defend him. I was like, you know what, we're still getting silverware, which is it reflects quite good on the club that even when we're having poor seasons, we're having mixed seasons where there's injury crisis hitting us one way and then dropping points to bad team, to supposedly worse teams, from coming from another angle. I think the fact that we're still able to get some silverware, obviously it's something that we wish could translate across the club. Like the men, you see that even with them having a good season, there's minimal silverware. So I think it is a positive when we look at that. And I'm like, Jonas has done well to do that. I'm I'm sort of torn because for me, same with the men's and women's club, our trophy-filled history is sort of a history now. It's not present day. It hasn't been in the last 5-10 years. So can we still keep talking about that being our history, like being our presence? Because for me, Chelsea, they can brag about all the trophies they've got because they've won the WSL in the last 5 years. Whereas for us, I feel like I don't want to keep dwelling on the Champions League. It's something that I throw out there if some like a Chelsea fan gets at me. I'm like, oh yeah, but we have gone up. We've got this trophy. You haven't got it. But when did we get that? Like we got that ages ago. And then when did we last win the WSL?
2008, we won the Champions League. WSL, can't even remember.
I think it was 2019, I want to say.
Yeah.
So that's like over 5 years ago.
It's like a long time ago.
Literally. And that's the thing. I feel like people that are now getting into getting into women's football especially, when I did, I was about 10, and that was like what Kenyah was saying, that was when we were winning everything. My dad wanted to show me the best women's team in England, so we went to Arsenal. Whereas now I actually think, where would you take your kid? Like, would you take them to a Chelsea, City or Arsenal? It's so good to see the gap narrowing, but we can't just keep holding on to the past. We've got to now focus on, right, okay, what we're going to be doing the next season or two. And for me, Jonas has got to be getting some trophies. I know, didn't he just like sign a new contract this season or something anyways?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so he's definitely here next season, whether we want him to be or not. And if he doesn't get anything other than a Conti Cup, obviously that would be great to have. But if he doesn't get a WSL, a Champions League, or even progress further, like what round did we even get knocked out in the Champions League? That was an actual joke.
We got knocked out in the first round. Remember, we lost. Second round. We lost to Paris FC, and I'm pretty sure we lost on penalties or something like that.
Paris FC, not even PSG, like Paris. I was like, okay.
I haven't even heard of them until we played.
Literally, I was just like, oh, okay, that's easy. We're going to breeze through this. I know we've got players that are injured. I was like, please. Like, honestly, actual joke. And I think there's a part of me that does feel bad because even though the injuries happened last season, they did kind of turn over into this season. But like you both addressed, the signings we had should have overcompensated for that. We had Russo to come in as a striker. We had Amanda Illistead to drop back in centre-back. Ruben Moyes really stepped up, and rightfully so, she got player of the season because she's been unreal at the back for us. So I think it's just it's hard because the places we're struggling with points has been against the supposedly easier sides. Like you said, Liverpool first game of the season, I was at the Emirates as well. And for me, I didn't know if to laugh or cry. I was just a bit like, oh, okay, right, that's happened. And then I thought, okay, maybe it will get better as we go along the season. Obviously, our penultimate game, we won against City 2-1. And I was like, if you just compare those two games, that's a lot of growth. But then the week before, we drew against Everton. So I'm like, it's just been so inconsistent. And that has just been, it's been mad. But I think that's the same with the men's. Like, we would lost points to teams that you shouldn't lose points to. And that's why at the end of the day, it's messed up. So I don't think there's no games as an easy game, like no such thing as an easy game. But I think we need to make sure we're always getting those points and not becoming complacent. But in regards to Jonas, I'm mixed. If we're still in this position, still having the same conversations this time next year, get him out. But for the moment, I think he needs another year to try prove himself. But then after that, I can't have any sympathy because if he makes any more mad decisions, then can't defend that.
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard because I feel stuck in the middle because, like you said, Lucy, next season we have been quite close to winning the league a few seasons back, so he can kind of get us that far, but we need to see him get us over the line. I mean, United, didn't have the best season. I know last season they competed and they nearly got close to winning the league, but they won an FA Cup, and I think we are capable of getting to a cup final. Like, we need to win FA Cups, especially. I love an FA Cup. I think watching United and Spurs, I think we're a lot better than them at the moment, and I think we should be getting to those competitions. I mean, the Champions League round, that was just, I was just so surprised. Like, I couldn't believe it as well. And I think a lot of our stronger players were on the bench as well, and it was all just a mess. But I think with Jonas, I don't blame people for questioning him and wanting him out, because I'm not against it at the moment in time. I think a lot of us know there's a lot of bad things going on, but next season is going to be a big season for us. I mean, Kenyah, I'll start with you. We saw this season obviously finishing third, and there was quite a big gap from us between Man City and Chelsea. But for you, what would you say your expectations are of next season? Because look at the squad we've got now. It's a good squad. It's a very good squad, and I'm hoping we'll improve even more. So, what would you hope next season we can achieve?
The league. I'm gonna be blunt. The league. I do think just because I started this season saying we should be winning the league, I looked at who we brought in and I'm like, okay, cool. We've got a striker, we've got in some good defenders, we've got in, so many great profiles who, they weren't playing at small little clubs. Someone like Amanda Ilstead has come from Lyon, for example. These are actual winners. Lina Kadina, who's just won, the World Cup, the actual winners. We should be winning the league. And I do think this season, the only thing that could make me say, fair enough, Jonas, is winning the league or the Champions League. That's and I just think if we're not competing for the league and we don't win it, I think it depends actually. Let's say we're competing for the league and it's similar to how Man City lost the league. They lost it on goal difference. I'd be like, you know what? Fair enough. This is a massive improvement. But yeah, I do want to see us win the league. I think we can't let our rivals pick up a sixth in 6 years. That's crazy. Especially considering that they're getting in a new manager. I think, we've got to now at this season and say this wasn't good enough. We want to get the league. This is what we need to do to get it. So I want us to win the league 100%.
Yeah, I think the league's massive, isn't it, for us? Especially I think if the last time we'd won it is 2018, 2019, it feels too long to wait. I mean, the Champions League is interesting because last season, obviously, we had all of those, ACL injuries, which I did say, Jonas, it's not his fault, it just happens. And we got really far. So I think the Champions League, I think we just need to keep getting far in that. But Lucy, for you, do you agree with Kenyah? Would you like us to win other things as well?
For sure. We have to. I mean, we have to win something other than the Conti Cup because
I'm tired of it.
People, I mean, it's good if we could get that as well as something else. Then it's like, okay, we won 2 trophies. But when you say, oh, we won a trophy, Chelsea won a trophy and United won a trophy, you're like, oh, okay, cool, what trophies? And then when you hear us say we won the Conti Cup and then they won the WSL and the FA Cup, it's like, oh, okay, we're not on the same level. And we should be up there. I definitely think we've come close the last few years. We haven't had bad seasons, and when we have had poor performances, they haven't affected our top 3 spot. But it's now just we need to make sure we're competing with City. And I think the first game of the season sets the tone, and we lost to Liverpool. So we need to just, as much as they literally just came the space below us, because they really stepped up. That was their second season in the WSL since they got promoted. So I think for us, we just really need to make sure we start off on the right foot. We don't drop out of the Champions League that early. We just need to definitely be on it more. And I think going back to what you were saying before, earlier on in the conversation about our tactics, they seem all over the place. I know, so we were talking about this before a few weeks back on the stream, but with the men, I could tell you an 11 and at least 8-9 of those players will be starting in the positions I think they would be, because Arteta created not a predictable, but a very flowy formation that just worked so well. It had a lot of cohesion. And if you put in switch out one player, that didn't really damage it too much. Whereas Eidevall, I couldn't on my own videos, I couldn't be literally I couldn't be my predicted. Yeah, because there's just not a consistent, there's no consistency. And I think we've got the foundations. I know loads of people say that about their club, but we do have the foundations. And if we're not building on them next season, then that's where the issues are going to prop up even more. And I think the issues have already propped up this season, but it's now when we look back, we've only realised it now. Whereas going into next season, we're all going to be very aware. And I think Jonas is going to be very aware. He's already receiving hate for getting rid of one of our best players. So I think, and obviously not winning another trophy. So I think, we definitely need another trophy. I think for me, I don't know what I'd rather get out of Champions League or WSL, because both are very, you obviously want the Champions League, out of anything. But I think just to silence Chelsea a bit, I'd rather get the WSL just so it's to stop their streak, because we saw that we were on like a 7-year streak and then that suddenly just ended. Like it stops your flow. So if we can just stop their flow, then that might happen in other competitions too.
Yeah, I think the league, I think we've got to win next season. I think it's about time we win it. And you look at players as well, like Russo as well. I think a lot of people had like high expectations. You know, we've seen her at United, the Lionesses. She's done really well. And I think as well, she has scored a lot of goals, but she also is more of like a team player as well. She kind of provides, you know, assists, and I think she's a really hard-working player as well. So I think next season, I think she's only going to get better. And yeah, I think right now I do look at the squad and think I'm happy with it. But I'd love you guys to tell me, like, what changes would you like to make? Because for me, I do think the goalkeeper situation is one that I think should be changed, because I think like I've said with Lucy, when Zinsberger has confidence, she is really good. But when she has low confidence, I think she's quite shaky at the back. And I definitely think the goalkeeper situation is something that we do need to do. I would love Mary Earps, but I don't think that will happen. I think that's more of a dream. But Lucy, who would you like to see come to Arsenal for next season?
I mean, Mary Earps would be pretty unreal to have. But yeah, like you said, I think it's a bit far-fetched now. I think if any decisions were to be made, they might happen. I'm hoping I'm proven wrong. But I don't really know. I just don't think. Obviously, he got rid of Sabrina D'Angelo, so then for me, I'm like, well, obviously, does he want a backup keeper, or is Zinsberger slotting into that backup keeper role? Because for me, Zinsberger's got to slot into the backup role. I just don't think. I don't think she's where she was. I don't really know what's happened. Like, maybe it is, like you said, confidence, but when the ball gets into the box every game, I was so nervous. I was like, nah, get out, because of her standing in between the posts. Whereas with Sabrina D'Angelo, I was like, yeah, I'm all here for it. Like, I felt calmer. So I don't, to be fair, I think Marriott's was the only one that I was really looking at. I know that Chelsea, they've got like 5 keepers or something like that, something stupid like that. So we could always take one of theirs. I know that, what's her name? The one from Aston Villa.
I know who you mean. I can't think.
Daphne Van Domslaar. That's her name.
Yeah, Van Domslaar. Yeah.
Right.
Van Domslaar seems really good. And the most link I've seen to Arsenal, because when I've like been researching it, she's the main one that pops up. But apart from her, I don't really have anyone in mind. But I just definitely think that if Zinsberg is staying at the club, she can't be starting for us. Maybe in the odd game, like if we're playing maybe Palace, because they're going to be the newly promoted team, maybe in those games. But I just think we need to have someone who's solid at the back. I know that for Arsenal, having Raya at the back, which I'm hoping obviously when we talk about the men's, I'm hoping he renews his contract, like becomes permanent with the club, because when he's at the back, I feel calm. I know that our back four's solid, but even if it gets past them, I know that it's safe hands. Whereas I don't have the same calmness with the women's side. So I definitely think that's probably the only player that I'm like, we need to focus on. Whereas the others, we've got so many options for different players, for different positions, that I'm pretty calm with everything else.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I think you look at our squad and it is a really good squad. Like, I don't think there's much that does need to be changed. I think the goalkeeper situation, like you said, Lucy and Kenyah, is just one that I think Zinsberger just needs to be more of like a backup, like maybe in some cup competitions she could play, or in games that we've not got a lot to lose, maybe she could play them games. I mean, I actually did prefer Sabrina to Zinsberger. Actually, I felt more comfortable. So it didn't surprise me that Sabrina was going to leave, because I kind of heard rumours about it, but I personally preferred Sabrina because I think she's just a lot more, I feel more calmer like when she's playing. Like, I know Zinsberger is a bit chaotic sometimes.
No, I think with Sabrina, what I really liked about her is that she commanded her area so well. Like, I think when we played Manchester United, I know they scored, but like it was just so calm with her. It's not frantic. It's not chaos at the back. And I feel like when your goalkeepers relaxed, it's reflected in your defense as well. Someone like a Leah Williamson or a Lotta who's in front of them is thinking, you know what, Goalkeeper's got this, I can pass back. I'm not under pressure. And I feel like there's been times this season where I look at Zinsberger and I think, this goal, you could have done much better. If you commanded your area better, if you maybe stood up a bit more, this wouldn't have been an issue. And I think goalkeeper is what we should look at. I was quite sad to see Sabrina leave actually, but I don't know where she's off to. But I hope she starts somewhere because she is a really good goalkeeper.
I feel like her. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, I feel like her journey at Arsenal has just started. I know that a couple seasons ago, I saw her play. I went to like Leyton Orient's ground to see her against Tottenham in the North London derby, and I think it was like a 4-5-1 win for us. And I saw her then, I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is good to know we've got a backup. And then I don't know what's happened, but obviously, like, we've all addressed that Zinsberger's lost her flair. Like, when she's jumping for goals, like, to save them, I feel like she's going too late or she's just jumping in the wrong direction or just making silly decisions. But I do just love Zinsberger's hype at the back. So I would be sad to see her go. I don't think she's going to go in the next year. Like maybe this time next year she might go, but she is just such a hype woman at the back and I love to see it. But I think we need someone that we can trust on when the ball is down our end rather than just when we're attacking.
Yeah. I think
definitely.
Is it Jose Mourinho that said that defense wins you leagues? It's your defense is so important, and you never see the best teams drop points to smaller teams, or you never see them getting thrashed. So I think I really like Manu as well. I think she brings good energy to the club, and I wouldn't want to sell her. But yeah, I do think if we could get a Mary Earps, I'd be happy with a Mary Earps or
I'd be like the dream signing, honestly.
Yeah, because I feel like Mary Earps is similar to Manu in the sense that she's got a lot of personality, but she's also very confident in herself and her goalkeeping. So who knows what's going to happen.
She is very confident. You can see that now, especially as seasons are going on. And I'd love her, but like Lucy said, it feels unrealistic to have her. Like I think it would have happened by now, but with Russo, I'd never thought we'd ever get her, and we did. So things do surprise you. I just wanted to say hello to Cecil, who just popped in.
Hi, Cecil.
Hey, Cecil.
But yeah, actually, I thought I could talk a bit about the men's team because obviously, it's been a little while since the season's ended. We've had time to process it all. Just talk to me. I'll start with you, Kenyah. Talk to me about how you're feeling now. We obviously came 2 points behind Man City, and I think for me at the time, I kind of accepted it. I didn't think West Ham would really get much out of the game, and I feel like now it is what it is. But how do you sort of reflect on the season now?
It's bittersweet, isn't it? Because you see how much we've developed. I think last season, not this one, the one just gone.
Yeah,
I'd say defensively we weren't as solid, and this season we have been, and it's quite frustrating. And when you look at the team, you think, right, we've got the best defense, we've got the second best attack. We literally lost one game and drew once in 2020. We drew less points than Man City, and we still didn't win it. And it just makes you think, what the hell do we have to do to get over the line? But at the same time, I'm also very proud of the team because I feel like we're going up against a juggernaut. We're going up against a giant in Manchester City that have unlimited resource. They have one of the best strikers in the world, one of the best midfielder in the world. They've got the best manager in the world, some of the best facilities. I just think, for us to go up against a team like that and take them to the last day, I think it's something to be very proud of. It's just sad that obviously we don't have the trophy to back up how good we were, but I do think we've grown so much as a team, and I genuinely think next season we will be lifting the trophy. It's just it's just a matter of time. When I see other fans trying to banter Arsenal, I'm just like, it's just a matter of time until we win the league. So when we do win the league, it's going to be peak for you. Like, we are knocking on the door.
We're going to be unbearable, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm like, we're knocking on the door. The door is finally going to be opened at one point, at one stage, and I just think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, improving in what areas we can to make sure that next season there is no gap, or actually we're the ones ahead and City are looking behind us saying, "Oh my God, what do we have to do to catch up?" But yeah, I think overall it's been a good season, to be honest. Can't really say anything negative.
Yeah, I think you can see we've improved this season. I think the season before that, obviously we came close, but not as close as we did last season. The season just got on. It does. Yeah, I feel like the silverware situation is something that a lot of people have been speaking about, because you look at United, they've not had a good season in the league. They've won the FA Cup. I mean, this question has been floating around. Have they had a better season than us because they've won silverware? I mean, Lucy, what do you think?
I think when it comes to the United conversation, I think for me personally, trophies is always the most important thing when you're a football fan. You look back at it and you think, you're going to say to your kids one day, "Oh, is there an Arsenal won the FA Cup and they won the league and they won this?" That's what you want to say. But I do think, okay, Man United maybe have a more successful season because they won something. But in terms of better, absolutely not. Worst ever recorded season, worst ever defense. Like, I look at a team, I remember when we were 8th and we won the FA Cup. We had an awful season. That FA Cup was like a cover-up of what that season was like. I probably enjoyed it more because it was something that Mikel Arteta just won. He had just freshly come in. But I think if any United fan has some sort of shame, they will know that we had a much better season than they did. I just think they've had, there's nothing, other than that trophy. If they didn't win that, there's nothing positive to take from it. So yeah, I try not to get too bogged down with the United trolls trying to say we had a better season. I'm like, trajectories are important, because if you did have a really good season, your owners wouldn't be thinking to get rid of your manager every minute. So
no, honestly, I completely back that. I think it's just annoying me, the amount of people, especially United fans, that are always just like, yeah, but you didn't even get a silverware. And I know silverware is important, but if we take it back to the WSL and we compare Arsenal season to City season, I think City have had a better season than Arsenal as a whole, yet we've got a trophy and they haven't. So I think you can't even judge, like, bringing it back to the men's game, you can't judge us based on the lack of silverware right now, because it's the plans we're putting in place. It's foundations for both the men's and women's side. I'm really excited for the next season or two. I definitely think we can get the Premier League. We're just putting things in place, and to take City, like you said, Kenyah, I don't think many other people, like many other Arsenal fans, have this positive outlook on it, but I definitely do agree that we're getting there. I mean, I enjoy watching the men's game. Like, I don't think if you told me that like 10 years ago when I didn't really watch the men's game, I would have been like, what? But I actually do enjoy watching it. It is nice. It's aesthetically pleasing football. It just flows. You know who's going to be there. I think Declan Rice coming in has been such a pivotal change for us, that he just connects the back line with the striker. Like, he's flowing everywhere in the midfield spaces. And I think having signings like that, Arteta's clever. Like, he knows what he's doing. With Timber back in, I know we're going to have our inverted fullbacks again. Well, not again, like as in, obviously that's the City sort of model that we're basing it off. And I just think we are becoming a team that is worthy of the Premier League this season. I think the start of it, I wouldn't have even predicted that we would have been in the title race. But then since Christmas, like you were saying with the stats of drawing one, losing one, we definitely have shown that we can do well. We just need to take that into next season and start off how we finish the season. Because even in games like the last game of the season, it went down to it. I didn't think that we were performing that well, but we managed to get the points. So I think if we can take that sort of I think if we can take that like determination into next season, then we should be good. I think anything less than like a third place or even a second place will be disappointing for us, because we've worked hard over the last 2 seasons, and I think we just have to be really positive. There's not many of us that would have thought we would have got to where we got this season. Yes, we haven't got the silverware to show it, but when we get it, it's going to be even sweeter. It's going to be even better. because we've worked and it's been a long process. But I think for me, City just annoy me. I think they're ruining the league. It's becoming predictable. People are zoning out. Like, I know if that was Arsenal, I'd be like, oh yeah, we're winning it all. But even when I talk about the WSL and the history, I like how we've got that competition with Arsenal and Chelsea and City now. And I want that to be more in the Premier League as well. Even Liverpool were fighting contenders until maybe like a month before the season ended. So I think it's good to see other teams coming up, but the fact that it's almost just like, oh yeah, City will win. I don't like that throwaway, like, oh yeah, City will win, because it just drains the passion from the sport. So I'm hoping that next season we can fight from the get-go, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
It
I
is
think
boring.
as well. Yeah, just to add quickly as well, I think a lot of fans don't understand how hard it is to win a league as well. To win, especially when people need to understand the Premier League is the best league in the world. It's the most competitive, most physical, faster. Like, it is the best league in the world. And I feel like any team can beat any team in the Premier League. Like, there's so many shock results. Like, if you had told me Luton would have drawn with Liverpool, I would have laughed at you. If you had told me Sheffield United would have went to Aston Villa and drawn with them as well, I would have been like, you're chatting crazy. But this is the reality of the league. And I feel like it is so hard to win league. So when I hear a lot of Arsenal fans saying, oh, Mikel, he's not done it second time in a row, I'm like, bro, this is not, I don't know, it's not an easy league. You're not just going to walk it every year. Look at Pep Guardiola. He himself, he's even talked about the struggles it is to win the league this season, talking about how hard it is when you've got Arsenal breathing down your neck, you've got Liverpool breathing down your neck, you've got Aston Villa, who is like a very informed team wanting to pick up every type of point. It is very, very hard. And I feel like we need to give the manager more grace, because it's not a walk in the park. If it was, almost everybody would have been able to win the league, but it's not easy. And I feel like, it's a matter of time until we do it. So we just have to be patient. But I think a lot of fans, I see a lot of fans obviously on the last day very disappointed. But I'm like, bro, this winning the league is not an easy thing. It's one of the hardest things. And that is why when somebody does win the league, or a manager does win the league, you give them all the respect and the accolades, because it's like, you've actually gone 38 games and you've been the best out of how many teams. So yeah, I just think we've got to be patient. Time's coming.
It is hard. It's hard because I think some fans aren't patient. I mean, I think for me, I do think next season, I do think we have to win something. I mean, whether that would be, getting close to Man City, winning, I don't know, a League Cup or an FA Cup. I think, you know what, well, we need to win something. I mean, for me, I think next season there has been this question: if we didn't win anything and we had the same season, would you keep Arteta? I think for me, you couldn't. I just can't imagine Arteta not being Arsenal, because I just think you look at when he came, we were 8th and we were a mess. The players we had then to where we are now, it's like a completely different Arsenal team. And I just think to myself, like, even if we didn't win anything next season, would I want him to go? Probably not, because I just believe in him a lot. I just don't. I think it's a silly question people ask, but I get it, because we haven't won anything in a few years.
Yeah, I think I look at Mikel Arteta and I see a squad of at least 25 players, all of which believe in him, all of which speak very highly of him, and not just those players. I look at Pep Guardiola and I look at his players, who every time they're asked about Arsenal give the ultimate respect to Mikel Arteta. And I just think this guy has taken us from our worst ever season, from 8th, all the way up to 2nd. He's knocking on the door for something massive, and I think we would be stupid to get rid of someone like that. And I look at Chelsea, for example, how many they've been through like 4 or 5 managers already, trying to replicate what we have. Yeah, they're literally, Todd Bowley sat there saying, we want someone like Mikel Arteta. Simple as. Manchester United, we want someone like Mikel Arteta. We want to buy into a process. And I just feel like we've got a sustainable manager, we've got a sustainable club. Why get rid of someone who is nearly there? Klopp was nearly there as well. Klopp didn't win it, and maybe I think into his 3rd season or 4th season. he was given time, albeit he did win other things, and I do think Mikel needs to win other things. I do think this season coming, we need to win an FA Cup, or we need to. I think an FA Cup. Not, I don't really care too much about the League Cup personally, but we need to win the League Cup. We need to win the FA Cup, for example. We need something for him to have to his name, because I do think it's unfair that he's doing so well and there's not really anything to show for it. But I think personally, I've got my mind made up. I think this guy is good. And I also look out there and I say, who is better and who is there available to get? Who is there that's gonna play attractive football, that's gonna get on well with the fans, who's gonna keep this like family energy that we have with our club, who's gonna connect us that well? And I can't think of anybody, to be honest. So yeah, I think we just got to trust in him, and hopefully next season we get that league. We get the league, we get the FA Cup. You know, we're going far. Like, I think he's brought us back to the Champions League. How long ago was the last time we won a Champions League? About 7 years we haven't been in it.
Yeah,
And you know, I think as well, even the way we went out the Champions League, we lost by fine margins. We lost by 1 goal. It's not like we got thrashed and knocked out like when we used to do under Wenger. We used to get slapped up by Bayern Munich. We went to Munich and we lost 1-0 and we lost. But you can see the development that this guy has. And I just think to get rid of someone who everybody else in the league looks at very highly would just be such a poor mistake, to be honest.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think people are so quick to cancel managers, basically. People are so quick to be like, oh, you lost this one game, let's get you out. And the hashtags start trending. They're like in or out. And I'm like, whoa, it's literally been like maybe a few games. For us, it's literally been 2 seasons where he's been competing for the title race. And people are still saying, maybe we should get him out. Like you said, Kenyah, there's no one else you'd want in. And I think we've just got to give trust. Like, what's that doing to the players? What's that doing to Chelsea? You see them, it's in and out. It's everyone's going, like, there's no consistency. And I think for us, that's what we crave. We need that stability at the club. Arteta gets on with the fans, he gets on with the players really well. You can see that just by how he interacts with them on a weekly basis, basically. And I think if we're just going to then chuck that all away and get a new manager in, then the players have to start it all again. Whereas going into next season, I reckon we can start it how we finished this season, on a high. And if you bring a new manager in, then it's literally just gonna mess that up. So I think people need to relax with it a bit, and just let managers do their thing until it's got to a point. Like with Jonas next season, it might get to a point. But even with that, who would you bring in for him? So I think you can't just get rid of one manager and think you're going to get an even better manager. The grass isn't always greener. I think we've just got to really just see that Arteta's done so well for us. He's put us in Champions League spots. He's put us in spaces we didn't think we would a few seasons ago be in right now. So I think we've just got to trust in him. I trust him completely. I think next season it would be good to just get something to build up those foundations of being like, okay, we can lift a trophy now. For me, I think it was a little bit deceiving. The Community Shield at the beginning of the season, winning that against City. I was like, okay, is this like foreshadowing the end of the season? Obviously it didn't, but like it's that hope that I was like, oh, okay, we're actually competing with the best of the best.
You don't know about the Community Shield curse, Lucy. Typically, whoever wins the Community Shield doesn't win the league that season.
For me,
it's actually...
I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm still trying to be optimistic. I'm like, you know what, guys, we've got this. But yeah, I think it's just for us, we got a little bit of silverware, and I was like, okay, it looks good on the players. Like, it looks good, like Rice holding this trophy, and it's just, you get hungry for more. But people have got to realise that what would they do as manager? Like, if they had to step in for Arteta, how would they run that? So I think he needs a little bit more respect than he's getting from some Arsenal fans. Because at the end of the day, if we support the club, we support everything within the club. So like the manager through to the players. So I think it's definitely something that people need to just calm down a bit, relax, don't hop on the Chelsea bandwagon of trying to get a new player in, a new coach every day. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like swapping managers. I think it's obvious to us and to like most fans that Arteta is taking us in the right direction. And like Kenyah said, we can feel like we're going to win something next season. Like, I think we are, whether that's the league. I mean, I think with the League Cup, I think the FA Cup for me is like one of the best to win, I would say, after like the Champions League or the Premier League. I think we've got to win something next season. I think a lot of us know that, but I don't like how Chelsea change managers all the time. I think for players as well, they need that stability of working with the same manager, not swapping all the time. It's not good for them. So I think a lot of us would keep Arteta. I think it's quite weird saying about selling him, because like getting rid of him, like why would you? He's just so amazing. It's a weird conversation, but I know a lot of people have questioned that. I think if we didn't win anything next season, I think I'd feel disappointed a lot more this season, because we would have been competing for another season, and it's a bit draining not to have won anything, if it even like an FA Cup. But I do see Arteta really bringing us back to where we need to be. I think you can see that with everything that he's done. But I know next season's going to be really big. And I think for me, I would love a striker. I know there's a lot of options out there. I know our squad is actually quite good. And we know Timber's going to be back, so he can sort of play that left back role. I know the left back position is quite a one that we sort of need to kind of sort out. I mean, Zinchenko as well could leave. I mean, I think for me, I wouldn't complain if he left, because I think sometimes he's a little bit of a liability. I do get a bit worried when he's playing. But what sort of positions do you think we should change and bring in? Kenyah, I'll start with you first.
Okay, I have a lot, to be honest. I think we definitely need a striker, 100%.
Yeah.
We definitely need a midfielder, more so a DM. And I definitely think we need a winger. I think we saw in that last game of the season, no Saka, no Partey, really. And he's so important to this team. And I just think to myself, God forbid something was to happen to him and we were missing him for weeks on end. Like, I can't see a Gabby Jesus, I can't see a Trossard, I can't see Martinelli, a Reece Nelson, I can't see any of the, or a Fabio Vieira. I can't see them replicating what Saka does. He is the best. He is the best in his position, and I just think we really need someone to challenge him. I feel like even times this season where there was a few times where he had like maybe 3 games back to back where he had a bit of a poor run. I think if he had someone behind him who was maybe not as good as him, but just so good, it would push him to be like, actually, I need to get out of this slump. I need to be performing. And I also think in terms of a DM, I think DM is so important. For me, someone like Thomas Partey, sell, get rid of him. He's not consistent enough. He's not reliable enough. I just think, again, I know we've got Jorginho, but I just think we need someone for the long term. Obviously, Jorginho is kind of a short-term plan. So I think it would be so important. It also means that Declan Rice can be free to play that 8 if we want. And yeah, who else? What else did I just say? And striker. I just think, you know, very straightforward. We need goals. I love Havertz. I think Havertz has done very well up top, but we see already he's not got that like killer instinct where like he's in front of goal and he's gonna shoot his first 4, as well as a lot of our forward players like a Saka, a Martinelli, or Trossard, is I'm gonna pass it. We need someone that's like, no, I'm actually just gonna shoot it. I'm gonna strike the ball. So I think, you know, if we were able to get in those 3 positions, I'd be more than happy with that. I think keeping Raya is a good. I think as long as we keep Raya as well, I'd be very happy for Raya to stay. I'm happy with our defense. I think as well, maybe you could look at a defender, but I think it depends on what we do with our defense. Because I really love Tomiyasu and I like Zinchenko, but again, not reliable enough. So we have to see about defense. But yeah, those would be my 3 main positions: a striker, a winger, and a DM, personally.
Yeah, definitely. I think the striker is like one that we definitely need to do. I think, like you said, Kenyah, like a lot of our players sort of do pass rather than just going for it. And I think having a striker would completely elevate this team. I'm quite actually flexible, like about options that we have. You know that we've, like I don't think Ollie Watkins would come because of the top 4, like how they're doing. You know, Aston Villa obviously have improved, but I think it's just I would love someone that would just really change this team because we are so close to being, you know, we are really good. Finishing second so close, and the Champions League, like Kenyah said, I think we did really well. Like in recent years, we used to get battered. It used to be quite embarrassing, and we only just lost out on fine margin. So I think it just shows you that, you know, we are improving. But there are a lot of players that also could leave Arsenal. You mentioned Partey as well. I've always said, you know, if you left, you left. But I'm quite open to both sides. But I reckon he could stay and maybe finish his contract here. But I know as well there's players like Smith Rowe as well. And I think, you know, when I've been speaking to fans, a lot of fans have said if the right money came in, then we should, you know, think about that. But it would also be really hard. I couldn't imagine Smith Rowe not at Arsenal. It'd be tough.
He's actually a young player that I want to keep because he can play multiple positions. He can play in the midfield and he can also play as a winger on the left. And I think, you know, we've seen already how good he can be. So I think if I was to any of the academy products that are kind of on the bench at the moment, Smith Rowe would be the one that I'd keep. I would be inclined to get rid of Reece and Andy just because they're not used really. They're not really trusted or given enough time to be used. But yeah, I think, and I also think if he was to go somewhere like at Aston Villa, imagine him being reunited with Unai Emery. I think he would be just like incredible. So I think if we can try and keep him because he's a big player. We just need to give him a chance.
I back that. Obviously, he's a Croydon boy as well, so I've got to back him for that way as well. But I think it's like, for me, it doesn't make sense when managers just want to get loads of players in because I'm like, you've now got that player to get used to you. They've got to get used to the players, the fans. They've got to get they've got to get used to how everyone plays. Whereas I just think that there's a lot of growth and hope when you're using players that have gone through the academies, that have been there for a few years now, and especially when they're so young. I know someone in the comments also said this player, but for me, I really like Benjamin Sesko. The idea of him being forward, he's from the Bundesliga, like he's got that experience. He's literally only 20 years old as well, which baffles me because I'm like, that's so impressive what he's achieving already. And with the help of Arsenal, I reckon he'll be able to achieve him even more. And it'll be a win-win because, like you both said, we sort of need that forward position. Havertz has stepped in and done great in that. I don't want Havertz to then drop back into midfield if we do get a striker, though, because I think Havertz, we know he was better then. We've seen at Chelsea, he's not that good when you put him in a position that he's not familiar with or as confident in. And he really thrives there. I think we just need to secure Raya in our team. I mean, it's pretty certain anyways. Saka, it's an ongoing conversation this whole season that he's had too much game time. And for me, I do think he's played a lot. He needs rest, but also he is so good. So why would we want to rest one of our best players? We need to have someone else who's a backup option, who's just as good, but you're not going to get someone who's Saka's ability sitting on the bench. So it's sort of, you've got to figure that out.
Just to jump in there, Lucy, like, for example, try and name me like 5 really good right wingers that are probably better than Saka. I could only name you one, and that's Mo Salah. So I think when people say that, like, oh, we should rest, like, I think even one time at AFTV, I don't know what show it was. If Cecil's still here, he can maybe comment. But the guys were arguing, should we start Saka? Should we start Saka? And I think you always your best player, always, in my opinion. I know that's a lot of game time, but you look at someone like a Ronaldo, you look at a Messi, you look at an Mbappe, you want to play every single game, every minute. So yeah, you know, Saka, we kind of have to play him, to be honest. Saw on the last game what it was like without him, and I was like, oh my god,
we're like so different about him. It was so strange. Like you realize how
it shows you that the other wingers that we love, like a Martinelli, a Trossard, a Jesus, they cannot replicate what Saka does. And you think about it made me even appreciate him more because we're used to seeing him take on 3 guys and get around his defender and score an assist. So I think that game just made me appreciate him more. But yeah, I just want to say that. Go on, carry on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. I completely back that. And the thing is, you've got to start your best player, because otherwise, why are they in your team? That's it. Just doesn't really make too much sense to me. I think though the only thing is, I know we said the team looked different without him, but even when he was in the team in the last few games, for me, I noticed a big difference. Like if we look at the Champions League game when we got knocked out, I know it was literally in the last few moments, and it probably wouldn't have come to anything anyways. But his corner not reaching the box, little things like that, I'm like, he's drained. He is mentally, physically drained. A lot is put on his shoulders. He's so young. We're all commenting on him. And imagine that pressure of everyone, like even this conversation right now, we're like, oh, he should be playing, but also we need to give him some break. Like he needs to rest as well. I think it must be so confusing. And especially if Arteta's got those thoughts going through his head as well. So I don't envy Arteta's position whatsoever, but I do think that signings can make such a big difference. We literally saw it with Rice. I'm hoping we'll see it again with Timber this season. Now he's back and fit, able to play.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that those sort of signings are going to be able to help us this season. If we can get a few more in, I don't actually think we need a new left back, because we've got Timber, who would be, for me, my starting left back because of his ability to be inverted. And then I think if we've got the backups of like Zinchenko, Kivior. I don't think Kivior's that strong. I prefer Zinchenko to Kivior. Tomiyasu would come in second, I'd have to say. But I do think that's like 4 options for one position. So Arteta's got to get rid of a couple of them at least. So I think if we've got Tomiyasu as a backup, then we don't really need to be wasting money in those places. We could maybe look to get someone in more of a number 6 role, potentially, so that Rice can push up further up the pitch. Because I don't know if you guys are the same, but for me, I love it when Rice is that number 8, because he just drives forward. He's also defensive, but defensive from further up the pitch. So then the ball stays further up. It just makes sense to me in my head next to Ødegaard. But I don't know. I think there's a few positions that, yes, maybe we could strengthen up, but it's nothing like, oh my gosh, it's just a big gap on the pitch. Like we have no one there. We have players. So I think Arsenal is in a very good position entering this summer transfer window.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, I mean, Ramsdale's another one that could leave. I think a lot of us kind of accept if he would leave, because he's not got game time, and for England he'll want to obviously try and be that number one day and get that. So I think as well, if you did sell him, like who would we bring him as like a backup goalkeeper? Because we all know Raya's our number 1 now. But who would you guys think could be our second choice? Because Ramsdale could stay, but then he could leave. So if he does leave, who would we have as that second choice goalkeeper?
That's a great question. I honestly couldn't think of anyone. Do you know what? I like Jordan Pickford, but my issue with Jordan Pickford is that there's times where I'm like watching, I'm like, I'm not convinced by you at all. And then there's other games I'm like, actually, you're really, really good. But I do think it's more as well. That's the only thing that really worries me. I don't know. I can't really think of a goalkeeper that.
I don't think.
Sorry,
just to step in that, I don't think Pickford could be a backup keeper. Like I know he has his moments, but it's almost like what we're saying with the women's game. You can't have 2 keepers that are starters, because one's got to sit on the bench at some point. And I just don't think I could see Pickford sitting on the bench. I think potentially one day he could work his way up to then be the starting. But Raya right now, it's Raya. At the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, Ramsdale, right. But it's been Raya for pretty much a good, like, solid 6 months, in my opinion. So I think whoever you're getting in, they've got to be prepared to not have much game time. And for me, I just think that Pickford or someone like that would be happy with that.
Yeah, it's hard because you want someone that's good enough to challenge your first goalkeeper, but also a lot of those type of goalkeepers are thinking, actually, I want to play at a top level. So it is really hard, to be honest. There's not a lot of goalkeepers out there that I look at that I say I really like you. I really like Lunin from Real Madrid, but even then he would want. I think after this season, because of how crucial he's been for Real Madrid, he might want to then say, I want to start. He might even want to leave Real Madrid and say, I want to be a starting goalkeeper. I can't really think of anyone, to be honest. Especially there's not a goalkeeper in the Premier League that I look at and I think, yeah, I'd want you, to be honest. That I know would be, I know that we could get that. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Especially, if they come, they'd have to know that they're not going to play all the time and that they'd probably play in like cup games or whenever Raya isn't playing. So it is hard as well because I don't know if Ramsdale, I mean, I have seen him linked to Newcastle, but then he could stay. I think if he stayed, then I'd be surprised if he stayed. But I think we know what he's like, so also it's it's kind of a good thing in a way because when we play those cup games or whenever he plays, we'll know what to expect from him. But I know that at the moment he might be a bit low in confidence because obviously he's not had much game time and he deserves game time somewhere. So I wouldn't blame him if he did leave, but I definitely think the summer is going to be big for us. And I do kind of agree with what you said before about the left back position is okay because if Timber played in there, it depends how he manages that injury because he could play there for most of the season and will be okay. And maybe Tomiyasu could play every so often when he can't play. But I suppose if his injury doesn't go, him recovering back from his injury doesn't go okay, that left back position is one that is a bit of our weaker link. I think defensively we don't really have any weak links, but I think the left back one is one that I'm a little bit worried about. But I know as well Tierney's back off loan, but I don't think he's going to come back. I don't see Arteta going backwards. I reckon you'll just move him on about with Tierney.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the way that Tierney plays is just not really how and funny enough, I feel like when I watch Kiwior play left back, he almost kind of plays similar to Kieran Tierney, where it's like just overlapping runs and whereas Mikel kind of wants you to go a bit more in midfield and he wants you to start. It's more of a back three, like so. Yeah, I don't think Kieran Tierney has a future at Arsenal, which is actually quite sad to say. But and also, again, he's another player that's always injured. Even whilst he was at Real Sociedad, he missed a lot of games because he was injured. So yeah, it's a dilemma. But my only thing about left back, and maybe not even just left back, but like any of those back positions, like let's say, God forbid, Timber's injured again.
Yeah.
So that's our first choice left back out. But that also means there's no cover for Saliba as well. He comes in for Saliba if we have. Do you know what I mean? Let's say, Gabriel has a backup in Kiwior, but if Kiwior's having to drop into left back and something happens to Gabriel, what do we do then? Do we change our formation? So that's the only thing I worry about. But then I guess something maybe in preseason games we can tinker around with maybe a back three or see what it's like and see how it goes. But yeah.
I think that's a good point because I suppose when Saliba, if he's amazing, Gabriel, if one of them are out, I think it would affect a bit of our season. But I suppose like formations would probably you could change that a bit. I think the summer's going to be really big. I think as well. I think hopefully Timber will be fit for most of it. He's such a great player. I remember when he came on in the last game and you could really see what he's about. So I'm confident that next season will be good. But I just wanted to thank you both so much for coming on today. I've really enjoyed this. It's been so much fun. And I appreciate you both coming on.
Same.
Well, thanks.
No, thank you.
It was like therapy.
Yeah, we used that therapy session. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's been good. I think it's a bit. It feels nice when you've kind of got your thoughts off your chest, especially about both the clubs. And yeah, I hope you guys as well have enjoyed this. It's been good to read your comments as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. It's been very much appreciated. Please don't forget to hit the like button and do subscribe while you're here. And yeah, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.